பேச ஆரம்பிக்கலாம் யாரும். செகண்ட் ஓடிக்கிட்டு இருக்கு. எல்லாமே மியூட்ல தான் போட்டு வச்சிருக்காங்க.
மியூட் போட்டாதான் கேட்கும். நம்மளும் மியூட்ல போட்டிருக்கோம்.
Okay.
Jangan berasa dah.
ஆமா, அவங்க அன்மியூட் பண்ணிவிட்டாலும் இன்னொருத்தவங்க மியூட் பண்ணி மியூட்ல இருக்கணுமா?
சரி சரி நூல் ஏற்றி விட்டாச்சா நூல் யார் ஏற்றி விட்டா நூல் எல்லாம் ஏத்திட்டு போறியா எல்லா நூலும் ஏத்துறீங்களா எப்படி எல்லா நூலும் ஏத்திட்டு போறீங்களா
So very good morning, friends. We'll now begin the training. We have more participants who have joined us now, so we can begin. So I welcome you all to this training program, and let me first congratulate all of you for registering on ZED, because this also shows your commitment towards the journey of excellence, towards the journey of competitiveness and sustainability. So congratulations, everyone. And now let us move ahead and understand what we are going to learn today. But before we deliberate on what all we are going to learn today, let me just set few ground rules. Number one, request all of you to keep your mics muted because we don't want to disturb other participants, and also sometimes it affects the flow of the session. The next thing is you may ask questions, but when prompted, because as we will cover a particular topic, after that we will ask in case there are any questions, and then you may actually unmute and you can ask your questions. Also, in the meanwhile, like if let's say the topic is going on and there is some question in your thoughts, you can put it in the chat box also, so that you don't miss it when we prompt to take up the questions. And whatever you put on the chat box, those questions will also be taken up during the question answer sessions. And then request you all to limit the questions to ZED only with respect to parameters, with respect to the certification, and avoid any other questions that are out of purview of this training program, because other questions they would not be relevant. If they are not relevant to the ZED scheme, we will not be taking those questions. And secondly, that might take up a lot of time from the training program, and we would all like to finish the training on time. However, we don't mind going beyond in case you have relevant questions, and that we would like to answer. Moving ahead, as I've already mentioned, that you may write your questions in the chat box so that questions are not missed. Secondly, for better bandwidth, because many times there's a network problem when a lot of people join online, and therefore request you all to switch off your videos. Only thing is, at the end of the session, we would request all of you to switch on your videos so that we could click a photograph. So that is something that we would also announce at the appropriate time. And finally, we request to maintain decorum of this forum. Now let's quickly move ahead. As you all, you have already applied and you are registered for this certification program, you have made your application. We would now look at what are the other stages and what is the process. That is one part which we'll briefly touch upon. And then we will move on to understand all the parameters that are there for bronze certification, and what kind of evidences that you are required to upload, because we have already a number of MSMEs who have applied. You are amongst them, and there are certain concerns. There are certain areas where there is some understanding is either lacking. So we would like to share what exactly we mean by the requirements and what kind of evidences are supposed to be uploaded, so that the time frame from date of application to your certification, that could be reduced, and also we could prevent the non-conformities, which are something which are very minor, which come because of maybe lack of understanding or because of lack of clarity. So that is the key aim of this training program today. So now this is the certification process for all the three levels, the ZED Bronze, ZED Silver, and ZED Gold levels. You have applied for a ZED Bronze level, and here the process is simple. Like you have to take a pledge, and then you have to you have to give an undertaking of compliances, and then you have to upload the documents for verification. Now, these are the documents that we call as evidences. These are the documents that the assessors look at against the requirements that are set up, against the evidences that are required. And once these documents that you upload in form of images, once they fulfill the requirement or the criteria, in that case, the recommendation is given for the certification. So that is with respect to bronze. With respect to silver certification, the process of pledge, undertaking of compliances, document upload and verification remain the same. However, here there would be a remote assessment. When I say remote assessment, it means that there would be an assessment which an assessor would conduct through a video call. So there would be an interaction. They would like to see your processes online, and accordingly then based on the interaction, based on the evidences, based on the fulfillment of requirements, finally the recommendation would be given for certification if there are no non-conformities, and then an assessment report is also shared. Similarly, for gold level, all this process remains same except for the part of assessment. For gold level, there is an on-site assessment that will happen. It means that the assessors would actually come on site at your premises, at your unit, and they will conduct a physical assessment of your processes and systems. And once you fulfill all the requirements, the recommendation and assessment report would be issued. May I request everyone to mute their mics, please. Now here, when we say recommendation for certification, one of the things is this recommendation will happen when in two cases. Number one, when there are no non-conformities, let us say all the processes and systems are in place in accordance with the ZED requirements or the ZED standard requirements. And second, there might be some instances where these requirements are not fulfilled by your unit, right? There might be some gaps in the processes, and therefore the assessor will raise a non-conformity, a non-conformance. Right? Non-conformance is something where it is defined as non-fulfillment of the requirements. So you will get to know what exactly is required and what is the gap. And based on that, then you can upload more evidences. You can share what your practices are so that the gap, the assessor is able to understand that you have closed those gaps. And then once the non-conformance is closed by the assessor, then the recommendation for certification is given, right? So here there is no pass or fail as such, but yes, you will have an opportunity to close the non-conformities. However, when you have to close the non-conformities, the non-conformity for bronze level has to be closed within 30 days, like from the date of the NC, first NC that is raised. From that date, you will get 30 days to close all the non-conformities. And within these 30 days, you will get 5 opportunities to close the non-conformities. When I say 5 opportunities, it means, let's say there are 2 or 3 non-conformities that are raised. You may then send some additional documents that are required, which the assessor would ask. And once that comes, and let's say again it does not fulfill the requirement, there may be again a non-conformance raised, right? Now, when this will happen, so similarly, this can happen only 5 times. But if it goes beyond 5 times or it goes beyond 30 days, then you will have to reapply afresh because your case would be considered closed if that is not done. However, as we are also understanding, we understand that still there might be some clarity that might be required. On special cases, we may give some extension also. But my urge is, I would urge that please do not look for extension, because if you understand the requirements, you would be able to upload the right evidences and you would be able to get the certification without any such concerns. And when we talk about Z, zero defect, zero effect as a philosophy, please note, this is not about just the certification. It is not just about getting a certification and, showcasing it to your clients and people. Yes, you can do that. But the real intent is that you adopt these practices of zero defect, zero effect, all the requirements. And if you follow these requirements, if you practice these requirements in your day-to-day practices, I can assure you that your systems and processes will improve. Your customers will start recognizing those changes. Your employees will start recognizing those changes, and you will certainly become more competitive, become more sustainable, become more profitable, and your journey from, let's say, micro enterprise. If you're a micro enterprise, your journey to become a small and then medium and large enterprise will be hastened. So that is what we are looking at. So just don't look at this certification, this entire thing as just a certification or to get some incentives, but to actually reap the benefits which would give you a long-term sustainability. With this, let me come to the ZED parameters. Now, as you all know, you have already applied. When it comes to bronze level, there are 5 parameters: leadership, Swatch workplace, workplace or occupational safety, measurement of timely delivery, and quality management. These are just the 5 parameters. And when if you want to apply for silver, as let's say whenever you want to apply for it, there would be 14 parameters. That means there would be some additional parameters from leadership till measurement and analysis. Now, if you look at the structure, when we go to gold level, there are total 20 parameters. All these parameters would be applicable. Also, when someone applies for, let's say, silver or gold, within a parameter, there might be some additional requirements also. So the idea is, as you start becoming more mature, as you start becoming more organized in terms of your systems, in terms of your processes, then there are certain additional requirements. If you fulfill that, you would be poised to take a bigger leap. So that is all the idea. For bronze level, the model has been kept very simple with just these 5 parameters. And if you look at these 5 parameters, it is a fundamental requirement for any organization to have systems and processes, because any client, if you have a client who wants to place an order, there's a process, right? They would like to, once they will figure out if they want to come to you, they might come for an audit or an inspection to see whether you have the requisite processes or not. And when they come, some basic things that they look at is like, for example, Swatch workplace. Leadership is always, it has to be there. You have to lead the organization in the right manner, right? You have to demonstrate that. So that will always be there. But apart from that, Swatch workplace, that is cleanliness and hygiene, whether that is being maintained, your clients would like to see that, your customers would like to see that. Whether the workplace, your unit, your enterprise is a safe workplace, whether your employees are working in a safe manner, whether you have created the safety infrastructure to avoid any accidents or incidents, because if there is any incident, the customers would be at risk because their supplies would get stuck. So they would not like to place an order on an organization where they find that there are a lot of safety concerns, right? And similarly, then measurement of timely delivery, very fundamental, because even if you have to place an order, you would like to see whether you would get your orders on time or not, right? Today, we are all in the age of internet, right? We all order on Amazon or Flipkart or e-commerce websites, and we expect that within 24 to 48 hours, things should reach to us, right? And if it doesn't reach, we get upset. And that is the same feeling that your customers will have if we are not able to deliver the things on time. And finally, that is quality management. Now, quality management again becomes very important, because however your branding and promotion and marketing, even if it is exceptional, but ultimately the customer would look at the quality of your products, right? If they are not satisfied with the quality of products, maybe once they would have placed an order, but next time they will not. And we have to ensure that we are able to get the repeat orders, and that is where quality management plays a very, very vital role. So now let us move on to understand these parameters a little in detail. But before that, let me also tell you that the model has been created in such a way that in case you have already put efforts to, let's say, get an ISO certification for occupational or workplace safety, that is ISO 45001, or you've got ISO 9001. If you have these certifications already in place, you would be, these parameters, assessment on these parameters would be allowed for exemption. That means the requirements would not be assessed. However, and similarly for daily works, if you look at this screen, there are total 6 certifications that are allowed for exemption. However, these would be distributed from bronze to silver to gold, right? For gold, all these would be applicable. For silver, except for waste management, rest all would be applicable. So that is how this exemption works. However, when we say exemption would be allowed, it has to meet a criteria. And that criteria is that the certification on ISO, it must be from a certification body that has been accredited by an accreditation body or agency that comes under the protocol of International Accreditation Forum, which is the international body, the global body which manages this entire infrastructure and protocol for ISO certification. So that is a primary requirement. If you can just see if you have already obtained ISO certification, you can go on the IF's website and you can search for the certification, the verification. You would find the name of the organization, that is the certification body, that would also be listed. Your certification number, that would also be listed. So that is one way to verify whether it comes from a body that is accredited by International Accreditation Forum under that protocol. Now, why it is insisted that whenever you go for, if you've already not gone for ISO certification, if you want to go for it, make sure that the organization fulfills this requirement of International Accreditation Forum. And every country has its own national accreditation body. And in India, the national accreditation body for certification bodies is NABCB. That is also Constituent Board of Quality Council of India. So you have to ensure that you get these certifications, because if they are under IAF protocol, all these bodies, they have a multilateral recognition arrangement with various countries. So what happens is your certification, if obtained from this under this protocol, it will be accepted, it will be recognized globally, right? So to ensure that whatever efforts you are putting in to obtain these certifications, make sure that they are from the right agency so that you are able to get the right benefits that you are supposed to get, right? So that is something which we would strongly recommend. But yes, these exemptions are to ensure that if you have already put in effort to get, let's say, a certification on safety management or on quality management or others like energy or environment, you should get the due credit. We would not bother you again with additional assessments if these are from the right agencies. So now let us move on to understand these parameters a little bit in more detail. Now, leadership. When we talk about leadership, there are a couple of parameters. There are two basic parameters when we talk about. So when assessment on leadership happens, it is basically to assess the commitment of the leadership of the owners or the senior management, their commitment to the Z values, right? Because ultimately you have to demonstrate how you are practicing the Z philosophy, whether you have been able to translate that into practice. That is something that will have to be demonstrated. Now, there are two ways. One that is a requirement is that the roles and responsibilities must be clearly defined for all the employees. So whosoever is working, even if you have 2 or 3 people who are working in your organization, or it may be 500, right? Make sure that everyone knows what is their responsibility and what is the role that they need to play. And also they need to understand the Z values, right? The second requirement is that the leadership must ensure that all the regulatory requirements, the legal requirements, are identified and they are fulfilled. And this has to be reviewed by the management. So please make sure that in your organization, all the legal requirements are being fulfilled. And for this, we also ask you to give an undertaking at the time of making the application for certification. So this is something about leadership. So in case, although we, as an evidence, we do not ask for any such evidence, but this is something that you need to really follow. You can upload certainly certain documents if you feel on this that you have organogram or something, that is welcome. But otherwise, except for providing you guidance that these all need to be followed, please follow that in intent, and that is all that we need here. Now moving on to Swatch Workplace. This is Swatch Workplace. Swatch means cleanliness, right? Cleanliness and hygiene. Now, for example, here, as I explained earlier, anyone who comes to your unit, let's say your workers or your employees, whosoever, they would like to work in a place that is clean, that is organized, right? If we don't have organized workplace, let's say many times there might be some electrical wires floating, they are not properly sealed, they might be exposed, and someone might get a shock, right? There might be certain cartons kept on a height and they're not kept properly, that might fall on someone's head. So that is also a part of safety, but it is also part of your cleanliness and organized, clean and organized workplace. So here the requirement states that you have to have a process of managing your entire enterprise in clean and organized manner. And also if there might be certain hygiene requirements also, right? For example, if you are into food industry, if food processing, if you are into, let's say, pharma production, or in similar businesses, right? Here in these, because these are the industries which are regulated, right? Government regulates them. Like for example, for food industry, there is a body that is Food Safety and Standards Authority. Now they have laid down regulations on how the organization has to maintain hygiene. So you will have to, when you are planning the cleanliness and hygiene and organization of your unit, make sure that all these things are taken into consideration. All those processes are in place, they are identified, and accordingly then they are implemented. So here we have certain requirements of evidences, which we will see in the coming slides. Moving on to occupational workplace and safety, again, as I said, that becomes very important, very fundamental, because we are small units, right? We are MSMEs, and in case of any accident or any incident, we cannot afford these accidents or incidents, because because one, we have limited workforce. Anyone getting hurt or out of action for a few hours might actually hamper our the schedule of production, schedule of processing, and so on. Similarly, if there is a larger accident, a fire incident or something like that, it might impact the overall business, which we cannot afford. One part is affordability. Second part is we don't want anyone to get hurt. We don't want the lives to be lost. We don't want anyone to get hurt severely so that he's incapacitated or something like that. So it becomes our responsibility to provide a safe workplace to our own people and also to the visitors or the customers who are coming. So for this also, we have a few requirements in terms of evidences, in terms of images that you need to upload, which we will discuss in the further slides. So all these requirements of evidences we will deliberate later after this slide. Now, the next requirement is measurement of timely delivery. Now, many of our MSMEs, they actually, what they do is, you would have records, some might call you saying that, okay, my delivery is getting delayed, or you may get a text on WhatsApp or your through SMS or through email. So what happens is you just resolve it, right? That's human nature. You would simply call the people, or you'll simply arrange either the replacement of the product or delivery of the product. You'll push the delivery so that it reaches the customer, and that is where it ends. But if someone asks you as a customer, like, what is your process to ensure that your products reach on time, to your customers, and how many times you are able to deliver your products on time? So because your customer would like to see that if he's placing an order, whether he can get his deliveries on time. So unless you have a systemic way of doing it, you will not be able to really provide a trend, or you would not be able to provide the right answer. You may say almost 100%, but there might be customers who may say, okay, we would like to see whether this 100% that you're claiming is right. And you can do that only if you have processes and systems in place. So this parameter urges you to create a system around timely delivery and its measurement. And finally, so here again, there will be some evidences that we'll discuss. And finally, quality management. Now, quality management is central to any process or any system or any organization. Without quality, you may, sustain for some time, but that would be just short term. On long term, you will, constantly fail, because if your products are not of the required quality, if you do not meet those specifications or requirements, you will not get perhaps the repeat orders or the renewed orders, and you will have to keep on struggling to find out a new customer every time. And therefore, quality becomes very important. Quality also helps you to establish your image as an organization which is known for quality. And this is something that we all need. So if you follow these practices, right, you will be able to, contribute significantly, not only to your own well-being, but also to the well-being of your employees, the society, as well as the nation. So Let us move on to understand the basic information and document upload. So when you apply, there is some basic information that is needed and also some documents that are supposed to be uploaded. So while we go and understand what all those things are, there are some generic instructions. This is based on what we have been getting in terms of the images or the evidences that are being uploaded by various MSMEs, some do's and don'ts, but these are very critical. So I would request everyone to pay full attention on this. Now, the first one is that the photographs that you click to upload as part of the document upload, make sure that they're captured directly from your unit. We need the actual photographs wherever you are clicking, wherever there's requirement of evidence. Please click the photographs directly of your unit. Like, for example, if we say we need photographs of the product, make sure that you are not uploading the photographs of the products from a photo that is already captured and that is stored in your laptop or PC, or let's say the printed images, the brochures. That will not do. What you have to do is you'll have to click the photograph of the product itself, right? So make sure that all the photographs are captured directly through the app at your unit, right? Because one of the things is that all these photographs that are clicked through app, they are geotagged and time-stamped. So we know the latitude and longitude, whether it is at the unit or not, what is the time at which it has been clicked. So that is why the requirement is to click directly from the unit. Secondly, another important aspect is that for the verification, our assessors would need to understand and see whether it is of the actual product or not. So this becomes very critical, right? So make sure all the photographs are captured through the app and directly from the unit, directly of the product or the document that is required. The second do's requirement of the stuff is that the photographs must be clear. Do not click photographs which are of low resolution, which are hazy, which do not show the content, especially when you are, clicking a photograph of a document. You please make sure that you look at the photograph that you have clicked, whether it is clearly visible or not, whether what is required can be seen clearly through the photograph or not. So that becomes very important. So make sure they are of high resolution, they are clear, and they depict what is required to be seen. Okay. Now the third thing is the photographs of the shop floor area. Now see, there is a parameter where we talk about when it comes to Swatch workplace. There is a requirement that a photograph of shop floor area has to be clicked, and then there are multiple photographs that are clicked and shared. But what is required is that you click the photographs of the area where the work is being done. There might be, your machinery where machines are kept, where people are working. So ideally, the photographs should include the machines, should include the people who are working there in action, right? Secondly, it can be also of, when I say a work area, your work area will include, raw material processing, then processing other processes which are in place. Packaging can be a part of your photographs. Now, see, for all these evidences where you have to upload images, you can upload up to 5 photographs. So you can, liberally, please click photographs of different areas of your shop floor or your workshop of your unit, so that we can get a feel of what exactly the process is through which your final product is being manufactured, right? The next one is photograph of the raw material store. Now here, many times what we get is photograph of the raw material itself. That is a close-up of the raw material. Now here, what we want to see is, because this parameter, this requirement is basically for the cleanliness, swachhta. We want to see how the raw material area, wherever it is stored. You may have a store that is fine, or sometimes the unit is very small and there might not be a separate store room, right? But in the same area, raw materials might be stored, right? So we would need photograph of that area where raw material is being stored, so that the assessor can actually look at this part. Now, next one is, can I request to mute the mic, please? So next one is photograph of the finished goods store. Now, when we say finished goods store, it's basically we are talking about the area where your final products are stored. It can be again a storeroom, or it can be an area in the hall or the processing area, right? But it has to be demarcated. So when you are talking about raw material area or the finished goods area, they should be clearly marked if they are within the area. They can be tagged also, that this is the finished good area, and so on. These are some of the good practices that happen. Then we move on to the photographs or fire extinguishers. So here again, we need a photograph to clearly understand where they are installed, at what locations. This has to be very clear. We have to also, we want to see that whether the fire extinguisher has been refilled on time, whether it is serviced on time, and therefore the label which is put on the fire extinguisher, it also must be clearly visible, right? Similarly, when it comes to other safety equipment, for example, the sand buckets, which is specifically for fire and safety, if this is required by the fire department, when you get a fire NOC, all these things are listed, what is required at your unit, right? So if that is required by the fire department, you must also keep these sand buckets. So make sure, many times what we get is that MSMEs put maybe a dustbin or a plastic bucket and fill it with mud or sand. That will not do. It has to be a properly defined or designated bucket. You can get a lot of information on internet as well, but this is required if it is instructed by the fire department, it is on the fire NOC. Similarly, we also need photographs of employees working. While they're working, they should wear right kind of personal protective equipment, right? So personal protective equipment is like, for example, the gloves, the masks, the helmets, but this has to be based on how you have identified the risks, safety risks in your organization, right? Because, for example, if we talk about welding as a process, if it exists, then there have to be the goggles, there has to be the face shield. Those things would be part of the safety kit. However, if that process is not there, then you don't need the face shield or the goggles. So similarly, you'll have to identify what kind of process you have in your organization, in your unit, which has safety hazards associated with it or safety risks associated with it. And accordingly, you have to identify the right kind of personal protective equipment which your employees should be using. And then we also look at, there is another requirement which is of posters on safety, which should be displayed at appropriate locations. Now, many times what we also get is photographs which are not relevant to safety. So when we are talking about safety, you must upload the evidences of the safety posters relevant to safety only. So that is something which is another aspect. And then we require photographs of other safety systems. Now, if your organization has other safety systems, for example, let's say it can be a fire alarm, it can be smoke detector, it can be the sprinkler, it can be the hydrant. You might have created a tank with water capacity that has been identified by the fire department. All these actually form the part of your safety system. It also might be machine guards that you would have put near the machines to ensure that no one is involved in any accident, right? So these are all the requirements. These are the things that we need. We don't need the photographs of other irrelevant equipment or things which are not related to safety. So these are basic do's and don'ts that you all must follow. I hope we have made it clear. And before we move on further, now we can take some questions. If there are any questions, one by one, we can take those questions. Any questions, please? I think someone has unmuted.
Excuse me, myself Shamir. Yeah, this regarding the sandbag basket. Is any special instructions we can it in the plastic form? Any separate any instructions there?
Yes, see, when we talk about the sand buckets, right? So these are basically the metal buckets. You can get them easily from any store that sells these fire prevention systems.
That's
Okay.
it is mandatory to have a metal bucket. Is it right?
Okay. Yes, see, now this becomes mandatory in some industries, and this is something which is specified by the when you go for getting the fire NOC, because that is the basic requirement before you begin your operations, right? So they would instruct whether you need sand buckets or not. For example, if it is a chemical industry, right, where there is a significant amount or quantity of flammable materials or chemicals is being kept, right? In that case, these sand buckets would become mandatory. Similarly, chemical industry or industry where, let's say, packaging material is being stored,
Yeah,
then it
we
will
are
be mandatory.
electronics industries.
Okay, so what I would suggest is, because you might have already obtained the fire NOC, on that they would have mentioned what are the kind of things that you need to maintain. For example, you would need fire extinguishers, which is certainly you need to. Depending on the size, then you may have to have a water hydrant system in place. You might need smoke detectors. That goes to the next level. So what I would urge is, you may go through the fire NOC. If it is mentioned that you need to have the sand buckets, then it becomes mandatory, because that comes from the fire department. But if it is not mentioned, then that is not needed. But here, as you asked the question, this for all the participants, please make sure that do not use any plastic, buckets or dustbins, because it is to prevent the fire, right? If it is a plastic, it will immediately melt if there is, so that's a basic thing. So if it is required by through the NOC or other requirements, make sure you identify the right kind of thing. Go to the shop from where you are getting the fire extinguishers. They themselves would have these fire buckets, and they would provide it to you, right?
Okay,
I
thank
hope
you.
I've answered your question, Shamirji.
Yeah,
Thank you. So next, any
I
further
know,
questions?
I know. One more thing for
Yes, please.
the safety alarm. For the safety alarm, already in our equipments, there is a safety indication is there. Whether it is okay or not. This
Sorry,
for the electronics manufacturing, each machine has a safety alarm, red, green, and
yeah.
yellow. Whether it is for the safety system, it is applicable or not.
Now, see, when we say machines, now when we look at safety as a parameter, one thing we have to identify is what are the risks, right? So if your machines have some risk, right? For example, someone's hand might get caught, or
Yeah,
clothes might get caught, and yes.
risk with respect to the human, is it right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
First, with respect to human, that is one. Secondly, with respect to the infrastructure, because one is loss of, let's say, human limb, it will destroy the life of the person, right? Similarly, it may also lead to loss of life. And secondly, if it is the facility, entire infrastructure, there might be a fire incident, there might be some other incidents which might damage your, equipment, machines, and other things. So when we look at the safety, it has to be about the humans, that is one. And secondly, it has to be about the equipment and the infrastructure itself, because again, if infrastructure gets damaged severely, then again, people will not have the employment or other things. There might be legal implications that why didn't you follow the required norms, because that might jeopardize other units that would be around us. So we have to ensure whatever is required. The law will tell you some very basic fundamental things, right? They'll say maybe fire extinguisher, have the fire hydrant, but ultimately it is your business, it is your capital that is invested, your people, right? So putting up, let's say, smoke detectors, these are the additional things that we can always do. So if you get a proper risk assessment done with respect to safety, you will then identify what are the requisite things that you must certainly do to avoid any such incident. This is like an insurance, right? Once anything of whatever is there in place, it gets used because of an incident and it saves, the entire thing is protected, right? So it's just a small insight that we all need to have. Hope that is answered.
Yeah, okay, fine, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so any further question, please? I don't see any question in the chat box as of now. Okay. So if there are no more questions, I'll move on ahead with the presentation.
Sir,
Yes,
good morning.
please.
This is
Good
Vaidyanathan
morning.
from Select.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Sir,
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are, please.
Yeah, sir. Sir, actually, we are embedded system manufacturing company. Most of the cases, we are going to outsource our material to do the activity and back into our office. We are doing the assembling and kind of things. We are going to do it. In that
Okay.
case, we are maintaining that only the extinguisher for all our floors. Actually, 2 floors only our company. All our first floor and ground floor only we are maintaining it. We are not
Okay.
going to keep any sandbags and fire alarm system sprinklers, those things.
Hmm.
So is this kind of things is mandatory to do the registrations, or only the extinguisher is enough to do the registration for this certification?
Okay, so see here, what happens is you have your own separate building, or it is in an industrial building where you have a couple of floors.
No, sir, actually, we have that this building is a lease. Actually, it's not our own
Okay.
building, company building. We are going to for a lease. First
Yeah,
floor
that's
and
fine.
ground
But
floor.
is it an independent building?
Independent building, sir.
Okay, okay. So see, one of the things is when you say fire extinguisher, certainly that is a requirement, right? You have to always keep a fire extinguisher. But apart from that, there would be certainly, if you've got a fire NOC, right? You can those things would be listed. What is required, okay? And then depending on the operations that you have, you will have to figure out. Like for example, you said you largely do the assembly, right? But
Yes, sir.
most of the things are they are outsourced. Now, what we have to understand is we don't have to look at what the law suggests. Okay, law certainly will give you some minimum requirements, right? But you'll have to see beyond the law. You have to actually do better than what law says so as to safeguard the things. So how would you ensure that in case, let's say, first thing you'll have to do is to understand what are the chances of a fire incident, right? In your premises. Okay. Now, depending on that, what could be extent, because what kind of machinery, what kind of equipment you have, whether they are flammable, if you are having some chemicals, or if you, let's say, if you have a generator which is operated on diesel and a lot of diesel is being stored, now that becomes a huge risk. Okay. So you'll have to identify all these risks, and depending on that, then you can plan to have different kinds of fire safety systems. Like for example, fire hydrant, in case let's say there is a severe fire, then unless you have a fire hydrant or source of water, even if the this fire vehicle comes in, they will not be able to get enough water, right, to douse the fire. And therefore, that is what I'm saying repeatedly, that please ensure that you carry out your own safety risk assessment, and accordingly, what is required, please put in place. If you cannot go beyond a particular thing, like for example, smoke detectors and all those things, but make sure that whatever is the minimum legal requirement with respect to the fire department, please ensure that you follow that.
Sure, sir.
Hope your query is answered.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, please. Okay, I see one question by Dr. Venugopal. He has mentioned that they are basically service providers, traders, and exporters. We have loan license to manufacture Ayurveda products, so we do not have our own manufacturing unit. Now, see, if you are not into manufacturing, right, because the Z standard, the certification is for manufacturing units. If you are registered or you are operating as a trader or as an exporter, as a service provider, then in this phase, you will not be able to get the certification because it is for the manufacturing, right? So that is something which will be constrained as of now. We would be coming up very soon with the second phase where even the service sector would be covered. So that is something I would suggest to bear in mind as you've registered, and see how does this fit in. If you already have, let's say, you have licensed a manufacturing unit, if that is the case where manufacturing is being done and you have a stake there, then in that case you'll have to register that manufacturing unit. But if you are just into business of trade, business of export and service, then this would not be a certification for you, doctor. Hope I have answered your query.
Hello.
Sir,
Sir, I have a doubt. Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes, please.
Yeah. See, we are manufacturer.
Mr. Manoj, your voice is cracking. I think
Can you hear me?
your voice is cracking.
Hello.
Yeah, this is better.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me, sir? No, okay. Fine.
Yeah.
I
I guess your voice is still breaking a lot. So I'm not. Your voice is cracking a lot. I'm not able to get you. So in case you can put it in the chat box, I think that should
Hello.
help.
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
yes, I can see. I can hear you. Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm from Assam, sir.
Yes, please.
हाँ सर. सर अभी मैंने एक यूनिट चालू किया है.
जी.
हिंदी चलेगा सर?
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल चलेगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है.
हाँ सर, अभी मैंने एक यूनिट चालू किया है. क्या बोलते हैं? लिमिक्स. हेलो.
हाँ जी.
हाँ, वो टी एंड कॉफी प्रीमिक्स पाउडर हम लोग बना रहे हैं.
ओके. ठीक है.
ठीक है, तो ये हम इसके रॉ मटेरियल हम बाहर से ले रहे हैं, तमिलनाडु से ले रहे हैं और चाय के लिए असम से ही ले रहे हैं.
अच्छा.
मगर सर इसके अभी हमको प्रॉब्लम आ रही है कि इसकी मार्केटिंग हम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं बढ़िया से भी.
ओके. तो
जबकि एक छोटा सा हम बहुत छोटा माइक्रो यूनिट ही बनाए हैं और उसी के अंदर हमारा रॉ मटेरियल भी रहता है, उसी के अंदर हमारा फिनिश्ड प्रोडक्ट भी हम लोग रख रहे हैं. बिल्कुल जैसे आपने बताया ना कि आप लिख के रखना उसके ऊपर में, मैंने बिल्कुल वैसे ही किया हुआ है.
ओके. देखिए इसमें तो आपका मतलब सवाल इस बारे में है कि आप कैसे इसको मार्केट कर सकें या सर्टिफिकेशन से रिलेटेड.
इसको हम कैसे आगे बढ़ाएं इसको यूनिट को.
ओके. देखिए ये मतलब आज की ट्रेनिंग के परव्यू के बाहर है, लेकिन देखिए मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एमएसएमई वहाँ पे जो लोकल डीआईसी ऑफिसर्स हैं वो भी आपको हेल्प कर सकते हैं. एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट प्रमोशन काउंसिल्स बने हुए हैं, वो भी आपको हेल्प कर सकते हैं. और दूसरा एक तरीका जो है, आप सोशल मीडिया का इस्तेमाल करना शुरू करें. सोशल मीडिया बड़ा पावरफुल है आज के समय में, वो भी आपको हेल्प करेगा. तो आप चाहें तो किसी एक्सपर्ट को, जो सोशल मीडिया एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, कुछ कंपनीज भी हैं, प्रोफेशनल कंपनीज होती हैं, कुछ नहीं कई हैं, आप उनको हायर कर सकते हैं प्रमोट करने के लिए.
इंडिया मार्ट.
हाँ जी, इंडिया मार्ट है, लेकिन जैसे अभी आप उसके अलावा सोशल मार्केटिंग की जब बात करते हैं, जैसे फेसबुक हो गया आपका, आप ई कॉमर्स वेबसाइट से जुड़ सकते हैं, जैसे कि आपका अमेजन हो गया, फ्लिपकार्ट हो गया, गवर्नमेंट की मार्केट प्लेस है जेम. ये सारी चीजें जो हैं, यहाँ पे भी आप अपने प्रोडक्ट को प्रमोट कर सकते हैं. तो बहुत सारे तरीके हैं जिससे आप इसको
अच्छा, ये जो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जैसे बताया था ना कि आप अपने स्टेट में अपना प्रोडक्ट बनाओ, तो उसी को बेस करते हुए मैंने ये चालू किया, क्योंकि यहाँ पे कोई भी नहीं बना ये वाला.
जी.
और
बहुत
ये
अच्छा है.
और हमारा सक्सेस भी है, क्योंकि हम इसको प्रोडक्ट को हमारे लोकल मार्केट में दे रहे हैं तो प्रीफर कर रहे हैं लोग, रिबाइंग कर रहे हैं ना.
नहीं, बहुत अच्छा है. ये आपने जो शुरू किया है बहुत ही अच्छा है, और आप इसको, जैसे आपको फीडबैक मिल रहा है कि मार्केट में लोग एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं, लोकल मार्केट में, तो एक्सेप्टेंस भी अगर प्रूव हो गया है, तो अब आपको बस नेक्स्ट लेवल पे जाना है, जो कि आप उसके लिए आपको प्रमोशन करना पड़ेगा. तो मतलब आप इसको चाहें तो सोशल मीडिया, जैसे मैंने बताया, या इस तरह से अगर आप प्रमोट करेंगे ताकि लोगों तक पहुंचे कि ये क्या प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हैं, क्या खासियत है, और उससे मैं आशा करता हूँ कि जरूर आपका बिजनेस बढ़ेगा. So please go ahead with that. ठीक है?
Sir, this is Dr. Venugopal.
Thank you.
हाँ जी. Yes, doctor.
I have sent a message again. We are not just service providers alone.
Okay.
We have a manufacturing license, except we don't have a factory. So it means we understand that if you don't have a factory, we don't have ZED now. Am I right? Even if you have our manufacturing license and we have products.
Yes, because one of the things that happens is with this certification is basically for the processes and processes and systems of a particular unit or a particular enterprise, which should be a manufacturing or a processing unit. So let's say if you have a manufacturing license, but I'm sure then you would have outsourced. Probably you might be getting
capsuling. This will apply.
Yes, if that process is there, let us say, okay, for example, you have a manufacturing license, right? You might get a part of manufacturing outsourced, okay, a part of it being done at another location, but then other part is being done at your premises, your unit, right? For example, let's say you might be testing it at your unit, or you might be, if it is kind of because when you say capsuling and all, I would it can't be some assembly, right? So in that case, there might be some testing that is happening. There might be some packaging that might be at your end. And if that is so, and you are registered on Udyam as a manufacturing enterprise, then it can come under the certification stuff. However, for that, you will have to also provide evidence that when you have outsourced the manufacturing process, where let's say capsuling and all the capsules are being made and these things are happening, you manage the quality from here, right? So there may be some SOPs, some instructions, some processes that would be in place. So if this arrangement is there, then you can go for it through this manufacturing stuff. But if these activities are not being done at all, and it's just in head office which is facilitating marketing and promotion and all those things, then it will not come under this.
Sir, in that case, I'm sorry to intrude. We have already registered. So do we have to? I don't know what to do now. Cancel it, or because we didn't know this, so we got the bronze registration. We did it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think maybe it's not right or proper for us to continue with that registration if you are not going to have this. So is there any protocol? I mean, do we have to inform somebody, or I don't know?
No, that's okay. You've already registered. What I would suggest is that because you already are getting it manufactured, right? So you can actually go through the standards. You can start imbibing the practices, right? Even if you're, let's say, as I was saying, ask them to apply. Secondly, it is about the intent, right? For example, even if you're running an office which is involved in, let's say, other processes, you can still, contribute to the environment by safeguarding the environment, conserving natural resource, saving energy, telling your suppliers or vendors or your manufacturing units that are outsourced to follow these practices. So that itself will be, you will be actually helping a lot of people to come on board this journey.
I think excellent. I think this is what we are already doing, and we'll be very happy to. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay.
So, sir, I think you can hear me better now.
Yes, better.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir, I got the clearance from the fire and safety. So, would it be possible to upload it with that certificate? Certificate because I have applied for the bronze one.
Yes. Okay. So, what I could hear, bronze. Can you repeat again? What is the query?
I have the clearance from the fire. It is not mandatory to start the production. We have started the production and it is our practice running. Okay. So we don't have the clearance from the fire and safety.
Okay.
So is it possible to go ahead with your certificate, or it is a mandatory to get obtain the fire and safety certificate?
You see, normally, usually in almost all the states, entire country, this NOC is required. See, even if it is, let's say, a coaching class or a service unit or an office, usually that is required. Okay, so that would depend on the local law, because, for example, in Maharashtra, if we talk about there, even if you open a shop, right, it's a grocery shop, you would need to get a Shop and Establishment Act. Under that, they ask for these kind of requirements. So what I would request you is to just get an idea from the department whether you need this. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that there would be some requirement. So you can actually identify those requirements and accordingly plan the things. So that is one part. Second part is you will have to, irrespective of the regulations or the requirements, you'll have to yourself identify the safety hazards and the risks, because they would inevitably be there, right? Even we are in an office, but there could be, a fire incident. You never know. There would be a short circuit in the electric wires. If they get old, there might be seepage. Right.
The safety, but the certificate part we don't have it.
Okay, so we do not need you to upload that NOC or certificate from the fire safety department. Only thing that we require in terms of regulations is that undertaking of compliances that you must have already done, right? That you comply to all the requirements, and that is fine. So here, in terms of the requirements, we'll discuss in the further slides what are the requirements that you need to upload. Okay, and you would then understand that what are the clear requirements, and we are not asking for any NOC or anything unless there is some clarity, some further clarity is required. Okay, so I think now we can move further. Okay, there is a question. Do you know Tamil? Sorry, sir. Tamil, I don't know. I know English and Hindi and maybe a bit of, I can understand a bit of Marathi and Gujarati, but not Tamil. So our apologies for this.
Sir, actually, sir, this is Vairamuthu. I have one question. Sir,
Okay.
actually, we are the technology company and manufacturing also. As per our requirement, we can go to outsource and get the material. We can go to assemble it. We can load our own software in our organization itself. So in that case, actually, we need to which registration we can going to go for it, sir? Which is the gold, brands or silver, and this one actually, which one we can go for it?
Okay, that's a good question, because one of the things is now in this model, you can apply, any MSME can apply at any level. Okay, you can apply for gold, silver, or bronze, any of these which you think that you can fulfill the requirements. Now you must have seen the ZED standard, right, which is uploaded on our portal also. You can download the copy and you can go through all the requirements. And if you think that you can fulfill these requirements of, let's say, gold or 20 parameters, you can go for it. So there is nothing that you must first go to bronze and then to silver or gold. There is nothing like that. You may apply at any level, for any level, if you think that your organization has the process and systems which fulfills the requirements. So it's as simple as that. So my suggestion would be, please go through that standard and have a look. They're pretty simple things which usually any organization is required to do. If you're not doing certain parts and you can actually put those processes in place, that is also fine. And you can then apply for any level that you seek for.
Okay.
Right?
My second question is, sir, actually, we don't have any, I told you clearly, because we don't have any manufacturing machines to do the production activity in our organization, because we are a technology company. We can outsource and importing all the materials, assembling, testing, and supplying to the client. And also, this what actually certification part you are mentioning clearly in the occupational and quality management, daily works and energy management, all those things, sir. But we are maintaining the quality management ISO 9001 certification, 2015 certifications only. We don't have other certification. Is it mandatory to do the registration, or only that quality management ISO 9001 is enough to do the registration?
Okay, see, for registering on ZED, now those certifications that we showed you as part of exemptions, ISO 9001 or 14001, now none of these certifications are mandatory for anyone to apply for ZED or obtain ZED certification. What we are saying is, in case you have already got these certifications, right? In that case, those parameters, for example, quality management system has 3 parameters, right? Under ZED, 3 requirements.
Yes.
Now, if you have already ISO 9001 as certification 9001 2015, which falls under the protocol of IAF, in that case, this parameter will not be assessed again. Okay, so we will not assess. We will say, okay, you've already put the efforts, you've already got the certification. Now these requirements, you would be exempted. So that is all. So you don't need to go for any other certification for ZED. Okay, if you don't have certifications, you will be assessed on that parameter. You will have to fulfill the requirements and demonstrate that you are fulfilling the requirement, and that's all. So please do not think that you need ISO certifications or any other certification to get ZED. No, nothing like that. It's only that if you have them, you will be exempted. That's all. You will get the due credit for it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Now there are certain questions with respect to photograph of finished goods store, etc. We will move ahead because these are the things that we are going to cover in our upcoming slides. So we'll just close here for the question and answer session, and we'll move on to the next slide. So we were basically on the basic information part. So from here, your upload of photographs or images, it begins. So the first thing is MSME representative selfie. So whosoever has been assigned the task or the responsibility to fill up the application form and to upload the evidences, you can simply you have to take a selfie. And as I told you, all these photographs that you click through the app, they will have geotagging so that we know where exactly is the location you are clicking the photograph from, your premises or not. Many times what happens is people click the photographs from their repository through the app when they're at a different location, not at the manufacturing location. So that is something which is to be avoided, right? So there has to be a photograph of the representative, and then there has to be a site exterior photo. Now, when we say site exterior photo, we will see in the slides that this photo needs to be from the outside of your premises so that we are able to see the name board, we are able to have a feel of how the infrastructure is, how the building or premises is, right? Now, this is something which is important. Then whether third-party financial audits are conducted, this is just a text box. You have to simply say yes or no. If you are not getting it done, you have to simply say no. If you're getting it done, you have to say yes. There is no document or anything that is supposed to be uploaded. Similarly, name of product manufactured. You have to mention what are the products that you manufacture, right? If you are, let's say, manufacturing paper, or you have some electronic gadget, you have to mention the name of that product. Then there is another question, whether it is exported or not. You have to simply say yes or no. There is no need to upload anything. This is just a text box, yes or no. And what you have to upload is, you have to upload the photograph of the product. So we need to understand when the certification is being recommended, before that we need to understand what is the product you are manufacturing. So you have to click a photograph of the product, and also you have to upload description of the product. So let's say if the product already has the label, your product, right? There's a label which talks about some description. If it is food, let's say nutritional values and ingredients and all those things. If it is, let's say, some kind of electronic product where there is some specification that is mentioned, then that is fine. But if that is not on the product or its packaging, then in that case, if you have a brochure, if you have a leaflet about that product, you have to upload that description of the product, because we would like to know what the product is and what it is supposed to do, how it is supposed to be used. So that part can come under the description of the product. Then there are more text boxes which we need for information. Who are your key domestic customers? It's a text box. You can put the names, type the names here. Similarly, for international customers, if you are exporting, then you'll have to also mention this in the text box. And then whether your raw material is imported, that is yes or no. Again, you don't have to upload the details here. Then name of the raw materials that are being imported. There is a text box. You can put the name. Then there's percentage. Like, for example, for a particular ingredient, how much is it that you are importing, 100% or 70%? That you have to just mention the percentage, and you have to put in the text box. Similarly, name the country where you are exporting, the country to which you are making the export. So there is multiple select, and you can select from the drop down menu multiple countries, because if you're exporting it to number of countries, you can select multiple countries as well. Here there is no requirement of any such document. Then if processes are outsourced, like for example, as we were deliberating just some time back, that there are certain processes that might be outsourced, like manufacturing of components is being done by someone else, but then we are getting it back and assembling it. So this process which is outsourced, this has to be mentioned in the text box. And finally, we need to know what are the energy sources you are using. So it might be electricity, it might be petrol or diesel, coal, wood, anything, or it may be a mix of these. So there are multiple check boxes. You have to simply check the right boxes, right contents, right? So with respect to basic information, there are just few things like representative selfie that is needed to be uploaded. Second is the site exterior photo. Third is photograph of the product. If you have multiple products, you have to click the multiple photographs. For every evidence that is to be uploaded, you are allowed to put up 5 photographs. But let's say if you have multiple products, you have 20 products, you can put them together, click 1 photograph. 5, 6 products together, and you can click 1 photograph. And similarly, you can click 5 photographs, so you can cover maximum number of products that you are manufacturing, right? And the fourth requirement, as far as the basic information is concerned, is the description of the product. As I explained, we should be able to see what are the ingredients, what they are supposed to do. The basic information regarding the product must be there. So these are only 4 things that you have to upload on in terms of basic information. Now we will understand this in detail now with help of some photographs that are the real images that have come to us. This is the photograph of site exterior. As you see, these are the good photographs, right photographs, and this is something which is expected as part of the upload. You can see the left hand side photograph here. You can see even the name board is clearly visible, right? So it gives the what is the name of the organization, the location and everything, and we are able to see the structure also, right? Even on the structure you can see there's a name board that is put. So this is a broad image which gives us a glimpse of overall facility or the enterprise. And second photograph is from the inside of another premises, where we can also see how is the upkeep of that facility from exterior. Now, as I said, you can upload up to 5 images. I would strongly recommend that click the photographs from different angles, so that the person who's looking at these photographs should be able to get a good sense of how the facility looks, how it is being kept or organized, right? So that is something which you should do. Now I'll show you an example of not the good ones, right, where non-conformance is raised. Now you see the left-hand photograph. In the photograph it looks good, entire building is covered, but this photograph has been taken from a computer screen. So you are not supposed to click photographs from a computer screen, or let's say image that is printed and so on. Second image that you see on the right hand side, now the photograph is clicked, but the name is it has got blurred, and therefore any blurry image or any image that is taken from a computer or from existing photograph, that is not acceptable. If these kind of photographs are uploaded, they don't give us the right feel of how the infrastructure is, how the facility is, and therefore the verifier or the assessor can raise a non-conformity. This will come back to you so that you upload the photograph again. So this is a very simple thing which can be avoided, right? If you click the photograph directly from the app of the facility, I don't see any reason why we can't do it, and this will avoid unnecessary lapse of time and non-conformance that can come up. Now the second photograph, as part of basic information, you have to upload the photograph of the product. Now you see these are all the right kind of photographs that we look at. Here you see these are the products on the left hand side image. These are actually put together, all these products, and then one of them is picked up and there is a close-up also, right? So we are able to make out what kind of product it is, and then if this comes along with the product description, which is the right one, then that gives a complete understanding to the assessor what the product is and what it is supposed to do, right? So all these photographs, if you see, they are taken from, they're very clear. That is one. They also show what exactly the product is about. So they give us a basic understanding. So these are the kind of photographs that are expected. Now, these are examples of photographs that have come from MSMEs only. All these photographs are from our repository that have come from the MSMEs organizations like yours. Now, these are the photographs which are not appreciated. Non-conformities have been raised here. If you see the left-hand side photograph and the photograph on the right, which is on the top, they are taken from a computer screen. These are not the photographs actually from the site, right? So people might upload these photographs thinking that they are of their facility. They might have stored it elsewhere, especially the left one, but this will not be accepted. It has to be from the facility, from the unit itself, from the work area, right? And these do not actually show the product clearly, right? Even if they are showing, it is actually not the actual product image, and therefore these are not acceptable. The third photograph, where you see something like grains, again there is no clarity, and therefore these were rejected. Non-conformities were raised, and therefore make sure when you are clicking a photograph, take one close-up photograph, take one from a little distance, so that we are able to make a clear understanding, right? You can upload up to 5 images. Now moving on to the next parameter, which is about Swatch workplace. Now here, the evidence that is required is photograph of the shop floor. Now, anyways, before I move on further, any questions on this, on basic information? I think we've deliberated already a lot on this. So still, in case there is a question, I can't see any on the chat box. So I think we can. Yeah, I think Mr. Yeah, please.
This is Subaya from Velmurugan Heavy Engineering, Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
The facility of the export products.
Okay.
It has to be uploaded, no? If it is recently, it has been dispatched to some countries. How we can make that that we are doing the export jobs?
So see, you will have. Yeah.
Is there any facility to do upload this photograph, which is already been recently dispatched?
So see, when we talk about export, there would be certainly a couple of things, right? One is there would be certain products already in process, right? That would be either assembled or packaged or something like that. There would be already some products that are in the process. So you can upload the photographs of the products that are in process, right? That is one part. Second one is it is when we are talking about the photograph of the product, right? Second is it can also be the prototype, because whatever you are actually selling or exporting, there would be some prototype that would always be there. And depending on the product, many a times you have to also, you are required to keep some products in your batch, because in case some problems arise, you will have to do some investigation. So if any of these things are there in your facility, you can upload the photograph of these products. Have I answered your query?
Actually, I didn't clearly understand, because
okay.
We have a heavy fabrication company.
Okay.
Since it is dispatched some 2 months before, we do not have any products. It has been dispatched. So we are already exporting, you don't have anything. But we are not taking the credit of that. We are doing the export jobs also.
Okay, so no, okay, see here the certification is about your processes and systems of your unit. Okay, here there is nothing that we are certifying you as an exporter or something, right? That is one. Second is, let's say you have already dispatched all your products, right? That there's nothing at your facility. So a couple of things that you can in that case do is, number one, if there is some diagram or some photographs that are already in place, right? That must be uploaded. That is one. It should be in line with what you have already put up on the Udyam portal, right? It should be clearly mentioned that these are the products that you are manufacturing. Name of the product in the text box you will give. Then you can upload the images, because when you send it to a customer before actually manufacturing or getting the order, you would have some brochures or some leaflets where images of those products are put up, right? So that is one that you can upload. And secondly, you can also, whatever product you have already exported, so the dispatch records showing that these products have been dispatched and there is nothing as of now in terms of the real product. So if you are able to provide this entire chain of things, then I think that should be fine. That should not have a problem.
Yeah, thank you. Got it.
Okay, great. So yes, with this, we move on further to understand the next parameter, which is about Swatch workplace. Now, Swatch workplace, as I said, Swatch, you all would be aware, it corresponds to the English word that is cleanliness and hygiene. Right. So here the first evidence required is photographs of the shop floor. Shop floor is basically the area where the work is being done, where the processing is being done, where the assembly happens, right? It is the area that where the actual action takes place. So we need the photographs of shop floor area. The idea is to see that the shop floor area where actually the work is being done, that area is managed clean, managed in a hygienic manner, managed in an organized manner. So this is what we want to see, and therefore our request is please click the photographs from a little distance so that we can see, like you can see on the slide, the photographs are taken from a little distance so that you can see the machinery, you can see some people working, you can see the crates put up there, and those markings on the floor. all those things, right? So we want to have a glimpse of your entire workplace, because see, this is happening on a desktop verification. Whatever you are sending us, based on this, the recommendation would be either given or recommendation would be withheld till you close the non-conformity. So please make sure, try to see from the point of view of an assessor who's not at your establishment, who has not seen your facility, how would he actually be able to understand this requirement? It will be only possible when you click photographs of different areas where activity is happening. And because the idea is to see whether that area, all these areas are maintained clean, hygienically, and in an organized manner, right? So these are examples of some good photographs that have come from units like yours. Now, this is something which I think is because of lack of understanding or clarity what is required. The evidence required is photographs of shop floor, and some of our MSMEs, they mistook it for the flooring of the shop, right? Flooring of their unit. So they have just clicked the photographs of the floor. So this is something I think now there would be no lack of clarity, and I'm sure you all will be aware of this, but the idea here is to get a hang of how the entire area is being managed. So please click multiple photographs from different angles of the entire unit, and this is the kind of photograph that we would like to see, or we would like to get, right? Otherwise, if there is something like this that is uploaded, there would be a non-conformity raised, and again, you'll have to upload the right photographs. Moving further, again, under Swatch Workplace, because when we say Swatch, we want to see that your entire unit, whether it is the work area, whether it is your storerooms, whether it is your area of reception, whether it is external area, whether it's your workers' toilets or any toilet that you have in your premises, whether that is clean or not, whether it is hygienically maintained or not. That is the idea. So next requirement is photographs of workers' toilets. Now, this is many a time, this is something which normally we disregard, right? Workers' toilet, the toilets of, let's say, the managers or the higher ups, they would be very clean, but workers' toilets would be unclean, unhygienic, right? So therefore, we have to ensure that all these toilets are maintained clean. Now, imagine if your own kids come to your facility and the toilets are not clean, the factory is not clean, what would they say? Like, is this how we are maintaining our factory, right? Same way the customers would look at. If you want to take your family for shopping, or let's say for dinner out, would you go to a place which is dirty, which has got dirty toilets, which are kept in a poor manner? Would you take your family? Would you go there to shop? You would not, right? Similarly, your customers would not like to place an order if the things are not organized, right? They are not clean and hygienic. Similarly, your employees would not like, they would every morning they get up and they'll feel, yeah, again, I'll have to go to the same place, which is not really very hygienic. Toilets are stinking and so on. So please make sure. So here, again, these photographs are not only, these requirements are not only for the certification, but it is to inculcate that habit of cleanliness, inculcate that habit of safety, quality, so that you are recognized tomorrow as the role models for other MSMEs, right? So that is the intent. So anything that you do, please go by that intent. Now, these are examples of some photographs where non-conformities have been raised. The first two photographs from left, they are taken from a computer screen, so there is a non-conformity. The right one photograph is clean, taken from actual site. Clean when I say the clarity of the photograph. However, the toilet is not clean, right? It is very dirty, and therefore non-conformity was raised, because it is not only about the photograph, it is about inculcating that practice within the organization. So this organization, they got the toilets cleaned, and then they uploaded the photographs again, and then the recommendation for certification was given. Okay, so again, I would repeat, do not just think about certification, think about creating an organization where you would yourself like to go and see, you would like your customers to visit, you would like MBA students to visit as part of their course curriculum. So that is what the intent is. The next requirement of the same parameter, Swatch Workplaces, photographs of the raw material stores. Now, these are some photographs that you see. These are the good photographs, although many of these we have cropped to accommodate on the slide. But the photographs that we want, as I've been saying, one photograph you should always take from a little distance, so we are able to see the entire area, right? And second can be a close-up where we could see whether they are put on pallets, whether there's proper distancing, whether there's some kind of unhygienic stuff. So all that should be visible. Ideally, when you upload the photograph, if you already do not maintain everything in a clean manner, you must establish a process for a regular cleanliness, proper organization, and those things. Okay, so these are the kind of photographs that we need. Now, as I also explained earlier, in case your unit is very small and you do not have separate stores for raw materials and finished goods stores, there might be some area, right, where you keep your raw materials, and there would be another area in the same hall which would be finished goods area. So those areas should be ideally clearly marked. They should be tagged that this is for raw material and this is finished goods stores. And then you have to take a photograph from a distance from where we can see that entire area where you are keeping your raw materials or finished goods. And then another photographs could be, from a little close distance. So again, as I've been, I might sound pretty repetitive, but you have 5 photographs that you can upload. Take it from different, sides, different angles, because that is something which will give the assessor a clear understanding of how you are keeping your entire area, and these non-conformities, time lapses can be avoided. Now, this some photographs that have not been accepted. The requirement is photograph the raw material stores or area, right? But here the photograph on the left hand side, you see this is a photograph of a raw material. They have given a close-up of raw material. We don't want to see what the raw material is. This photograph is okay from the close-up, but then we also need a photograph from a distance, because what is required here is to see whether your raw material area or stores is maintained in a clean and hygienic manner. So unless that is reflected or depicted through the photograph, that will not be accepted. The right hand side photograph is blurry, we can't really make out, and therefore again such photographs are not accepted. These are the photographs. Next requirement. See, Swatch Workplace is one of the parameters where there are maximum number of evidences that are supposed to be uploaded, because we want to see all the areas to be organized well, to be clean and hygienic. So these are photographs. These are good photographs. These photographs have been, these are just 2 photographs, but from the same organization, there have been multiple photographs which through which we could see the entire finished goods area. So again, some good practices. If you have stores, that's fine, but then keep the things organized inside. If you do not have stores, if you have a specific area, please put a tag that this is a finished goods area, so that mixing up or damage and other things could be avoided. If you can have them mark those areas through those yellow kind of yellow paints or other markings, that is also a good practice and gives a good feel to anyone who enters your organization, right? These are some photographs of finished goods stores, not acceptable. This is just a close-up. We can't see the entire area that is on the left photograph. And right-hand side, again, we don't know what exactly the person wanted to, indicate to us, because we cannot make out anything from this photograph. So this is completely irrelevant photograph on the right-hand side. So make sure that you are not making these mistakes and putting the right kind of photographs. Now from Swatch Workplace, we move on to the occupational or workplace safety. At this point, do we have any questions with respect to Swatch Workplace? If there are, we can take this up. Okay, so I can see one question here on the chat box. It is from Pinnacle Biosciences. It says, regarding raw material store, we store our raw materials in godown, which is 2 kilometers away from our premises. Can we upload from godown, and our godown is registered with our GST? If that is so, yes, you can upload this photograph. However, you will have to, as you mentioned, that godown is registered with your GST. We would need an evidence of that particular part. Now, this is one, right? Second thing I would like to also clarify is, when you get the raw material to your manufacturing premises, you would still keep it somewhere, right? It might be in small quantity only. So what we would also need is upload a couple of photographs in your facility, in manufacturing area where they are being kept. So that would actually close the chain. Hope that question is answered of Pinnacle. Yes, any questions, for any further questions? Okay, so some people are, unmuting their mic, but I don't think there's something coming up. So let us move on further. We'll again open for question and answer session, and then we can take up the questions if any. And if someone is not able to really, speak out, may just put it in the chat box. Okay, one question has come. Regarding a photograph of finished goods store currently, we are storing our product under a shed without surrounding walls. Will it be okay? Now see, it would depend on what kind of product you are making. Okay, so even if it is without walls, that is okay. But what we would also like to understand is how is that product secured? That is for your benefit, right? As an organization, let's say there might be some security, there might not be a wall, but it would be covered in some way, right? Then how is the product being protected against, the nature, like for example, from the rains, from heat, from these kind of things, from contamination. So you will have to ensure that these things are basically safeguarded. So if these are being done, the photograph of this store would be fine. That is okay. But you will have to make sure that you are safeguarding the product so that when it reaches the customer, its integrity is not changed because of the natural stuff, like it may be rain or it may be some contamination or other things. So if you follow this, I think that should be fine. Okay, so with this question, we move on to our next parameter, that is occupational or workplace safety. Now here, if we look at the photograph, these are the photographs of fire extinguishers, some good photographs. You see one is a close-up photograph. If you look at the first from the left, first, third and fourth, these are pretty kind of close-up photographs, especially the first and third. Here what we need is one, the complete photograph of the fire extinguisher from top to bottom. And also what we would like to see, the assessor would like to see, is the label here. I can't zoom it beyond this point, but it should clearly show what has been the date of refill. Okay, because normally any fire extinguisher that you purchase, it requires servicing. Some of them would mention that it needs monthly checking, right? So that can be an internal process. You can depute someone who can actually create a log that it was checked. There is a watch-like structure on the top. Okay, top of the fire extinguisher. It shows the pressure. The needle must be in the green range. It means that when the need occurs, you can actually use it. There would be proper pressure and you can use fire extinguisher properly. So this is something that you need to check on monthly basis. It should not get into the red area. Okay, so that is for a general understanding. Secondly, so this is the regular maintenance, that this would be required regular servicing or regular inspection. The second part is the validity. The content that is within the fire extinguisher, that normally expires after a particular time. So depending on who's the manufacturer, who has manufactured it, they would also specify that this needs to be refilled every 2 years or every year or every 3 years. So depending on the manufacturer's instruction, it has to be refilled, it has to be serviced on a specific date. So whenever the service, whenever these service guys come, who sell you the fire extinguishers, who have provided you this, they will come and they'll put a label on the fire extinguisher with the date on which it is refilled and the next refill date. That label should also be clearly visible in terms of fire extinguishers. Secondly, the fire extinguishers, you see these photographs, the second from left, the second and the fourth photograph, they have been taken from a little distance. So we know what is the location where they have been, these fire extinguishers have been put up, right? On the right, extreme right side photograph, you see that is from a packaging store, right? So we would also like to understand where exactly these fire extinguishers have been put up. In the comment section, you can also mention what is the number of fire extinguishers you have, right? That gives us a pretty clear understanding that yes, you have got adequate numbers based on your own risk assessment. So these are all the good practices that I've shared, and this is the kind of photograph that we need to identify. So take a close-up photograph and take a photograph from a distance so that we know which area it is, whether it is stores, whether it is your workplace, whether it is external part, that should be clearly visible. Moving to the photograph, which is, yes, these are not the right photographs. These are not acceptable and non-conformities have been raised on this. So the left-hand side photograph you see, it is a close-up. but there's nothing visible, right? We can't see the pressure gauge, we can't see the refill dates, and therefore this is not accepted. Secondly, apparently this is from some computer screen or some brochure. The right hand side photograph is also downloaded from either it is from internet or some image. This is not the photograph that is as per the requirement. So as I've been saying, try to understand what is the intent, what we want to understand about your organization, and accordingly upload the photographs. These are the sand buckets. So now you can see how these sand buckets look like, right? Normally, this is the kind of sand bucket. They are metal buckets. They are in a red or maroon color. Largely, they would be red, dark red color, and there would be fire mentioned on it. And they're usually placed outside. There is in some buckets there are sands, and also sometimes there can be water in one of the buckets that is also put as practice, right? Now these are the kind of things. Sand is usually used when, let's say, there is some kind of electric fire that occurs. In those cases, sand can be used. However, sand buckets, as I said, if it is required by the fire department to be placed, then you have to place it, but make sure it is the right kind of buckets. If it is not required, not a problem. You can simply mention that this is not required as per the fire NOC, and you can upload that document there, right? Now we will see some photographs which are actually not the right ones. The left hand side you see it is downloaded from internet, and the right hand side you see this is a dustbin in which some sand has been put. So these are not the acceptable photographs or practices. Then comes another requirement of evidence or photograph, that is employees with personal protective equipment. PPEs are personal protective equipment, and this parameter is about occupational or workplace safety. So we have to again understand the intent. Here the PPEs we are talking about is with respect to what is the risk, inherent risk in this process at the infrastructure. For example, let's say if there are a lot of metal works, heavy metals are put, there are chances of something falling from the top, okay, on the head, then in that case you would need safety helmets. Okay, if let's say your people have to work in dark, these kind of jackets can be they can place, or for example they are working as part of the maintenance team, right, where there would be a lot of hazards so that people can identify. These can be required. When there is a risk of heavy metals or boxes falling down on foot, okay, then in that case safety shoes would be required. So that is the left hand side photograph. On the right hand side you see that the person is wearing a uniform, then there's a mask, there's a goggle, there's a headgear. Now these are the things when there is a requirement. This from a pharma company, right? Now here there's a lot of dust when you, like for example, if you would be aware about how the tablet manufacturing takes place, right? There could be a lot of dust in that room. Similarly, in food industry, when you're processing rice or wheat or something, there could be a lot of dust, and therefore you will need specific masks. You might need goggles. So make sure you'll need hand gloves because again you're touching some chemicals. So make sure that these personal protective equipment are as per your requirement. Okay, it's not necessary that your process will always require a hand glove, right? So please carry out a proper analysis, understand the requirement, and accordingly provide personal protective equipment here to people, and also make sure that they are wearing it when they are working. And the photographs we need is from your employees who are actually working on the site. While they are working, please click the photographs at that time. Next is these are the evidences of photographs which are not the right photographs. Okay, the left hand side photograph that you see, you don't know what exactly the person is wearing. It's not clear. The right hand side photograph, again, you might see that, oh, the person is wearing the entire kit, the gown and the mask, but it was rejected. Why? Because this is a COVID PPE kit that has been provided. Now, mask is fine because COVID is still looming around, right? So that mask should be fine. But this is basically a packaging unit, right? So here, this kind of PPE is not required, the gown that the person is wearing. So therefore, it has to be the right kind of personal equipment that is supposed to be worn by the person, worn by the employees. Now, the next requirement under this parameter is evidence or photographs of safety posters. Now you see all these photographs, these are all relevant. You can see what kind of personal protective equipment is required. The second photographs, it shows the gloves, the earmuffs, helmets, masks, and so on. Then there is another one where dust hazard is depicted, right? So dust would be there in that area, and they have mentioned that you have to wear masks because there is a dust hazard. So similarly, then electric shock and treatment, there's a poster on it. So these kind of posters are acceptable. The photographs are acceptable. All these photographs that you see here, they have been cropped to accommodate, right? But actually, the photograph that we need, it must fulfill certain requirements. One, clarity. Second, these photographs should be taken from a distance so that we know at what location this is being put. If you put this sticker or this poster of dust hazard in an area where there's no dust, it doesn't make sense, right? So please make sure that you do not waste your time and effort by doing the wrong things. Do it right the first time, and so that it is accepted as part of the process of certification, but it should also benefit your own people who are working at your premises. Now, these are photographs which are not the right ones. The left-hand side photograph, you might see that, okay, it's just showing people are wearing masks. Why it is not acceptable? It is basically because this is an advertisement of these masks. It is not saying that you have to wear a mask for this particular part, right? So that is why it is not accepted. Second photograph that you see is of 5S. Now 5S is a methodology for cleanliness, maintaining cleanliness and organizing a workplace. It is not a relevant photograph with respect to safety, and that is why that is again not accepted. The third photograph on the right that you see is taken from internet, and therefore that will not be accepted. The requirement is that you have to click photographs of actual site and actual products, posters, or whatever is the requirement. It has to be the actual photograph. Now, the final requirement, the next requirement, not the final, the second last is the evidence or photographs of other safety systems. Now, if you have a fire hydrant, if you have these fire hoses, if you have smoke detectors, you can upload whatever safety system you have developed, right? If it is, let's say, a machine guard, you have guarded a machine through some guard, that is acceptable. If you have some sensors on the machines, right? For example, if let's say someone approaches the particular equipment very closely, there might be a sensor which will stop the machine. If that is so, there might be some instructions on the machine that there is a sensor and so on. You can actually upload those photographs also. So this is about any safety system that you have, whether it is with respect to fire, whether it is with respect to machine, you can upload anything here, right? So these are all the right kind of photographs. Again, I would say you have to click photographs one close up, and for the same unit, you have to equipment, you have to click a photograph from a little distance so that we can make out where it is located. Now, these are some examples which are not the right ones. Now, there's a CCTV camera. Now, CCTV camera, it's basically part of the security system, not the workplace or occupational safety system, right? And also where it is put up is again a different thing. So the purpose is completely different. This is for security, right? On the right hand side that you see the photograph, it is a photograph downloaded perhaps from internet, which has EPBX system, which has other photographs of indoor PIR motion center and so on. So this is just a brochure of some organization which has been put up. So again, this is not acceptable, right? And then finally, the last requirement under occupational or workplace safety is list of safety trainings conducted. Now here, these are some templates and formats that we have put up here on the screen. Okay, so you can actually, there are a lot of formats. If you don't have your own, you can actually download it from internet. There are a lot of formats that would be available. However, what is required as part of the assessment is you must have all these trainings which must be put under the list of safety trainings. They must be relevant to safety, right? You cannot say I have trained someone on 5S and you put it up as part of this list, right? So safety trainings, one thing that is required is what is the topic of the training? What is the subject? Like, for example, you all certainly have fire extinguisher at your premises. Now, have you trained all the people on how to use the fire extinguisher? Does everyone know? Because ultimately you might have fire extinguisher, but if no one knows how to use it, it will be of no use, So you can have whenever your guys who have provided you the fire extinguisher, they come for the refilling, what they do is they will first empty out the fire extinguisher. So the same thing can be actually used for training, live training, right? Hands-on training. So you can tell those guys and they would be more than happy to train your people on use of fire extinguisher free of cost. Okay, so make use of these instances. So photographs of such trainings where people are handling fire extinguisher, that can be actually taken up. So images will do of these kind of trainings. If there are other trainings also, mock drills, images will do. However, apart from these images, we would also need a list of trainings that are conducted within a specified period of time. It may be your annual calendar of training. So the name of training should be there. The dates on which they have been conducted or they are planned to be conducted should be there. The timings, who has trained the person, name of the trainer, and also what has been the duration, as well as we would also need the names of the people who are trained and their signatures so that we know, okay, so many people in your organization have been trained on these topics, right? So make sure that topics that you identify for training, they're relevant for your organization. It can be, how do you operate safely, right? So all these things you have to identify and accordingly put up a training calendar or attendance sheets or the images with respect to occupational work and safety. So this is just the right thing. We have not put up anything that was not appropriate as a photograph, because we know that there is some need for clarity that might be needed. So these are the templates. You can also download it from internet if that is required. With this, we move on to the next parameter, that is measurement of timely delivery. This is the fourth parameter. Here, what we want to understand as an assessor, this is the point of view of an assessor or a customer, right? That you have to understand. What we want to understand is whether your organization is able to deliver the products on time. Now, how would you know whether you are delivering it on time or not? Number one, what we need as an evidence is records of deliveries. It can be your delivery challan. If you are exporting, there would be a lot of documents, in fact, when it comes to export, right? Those things must be there. It can be transport vehicles, that challan or largely any document which proves that you're actually transporting the products through a particular transport mode. That can be there. It can be a register that you maintain, physical register. For example, date must be mentioned, name of the client or the customer must be mentioned, the date on which they had actually, as part of the order or their contract, they must have mentioned like the product must be delivered on 31st June, 30th June. And you have to mention on which date actually it was delivered. So when you start logging it on a register, over a period of time, you will be able to see a trend, right? That what is the average time I'm taking to deliver the products, and that is whether I'm able to fulfill the requirement one time in full, or I'm actually first time I've sent 30%, then 50%, and so on, right? So idea is to understand whether you are able to deliver all the products, all the deliveries in time or not. So this is again just a template of dispatch register. This can be a physical register. It can be in Excel sheet on your computer. It can be a software. Anything that you can you have access to, please make use of this and ensure that all these records are maintained. And this is something that we need. So basically, it can be photographs of proof of delivery. It can be if you are couriering it, then that copy, acknowledgement of the customer with their sign and stamp, their name, that would also do. So this is something that is required under measurement of timely delivery, right? Now, yes, so the next one is basically quality management. Now, quality management, one of the basic things that we need is the trainings conducted on quality. That is the simple, very simple fundamental requirement that we have put up. Now, the template you can borrow, there are 2 templates on your screen. Apart from this, there are multiple templates you can figure out from internet. You can create your own. But the idea is the training, when we look at the evidence, again, as I told you with respect to safety, we need what is the topic of training. This training on quality can be on the standard operating procedures that you have created, how to operate a machine so that the quality is maintained, how to conduct a process all these become part of the quality. It can be on quality management system. It can be training on the Z requirements, right? That can form a part of your quality management. So topic or subject of training is must. Who has been the trainer, on what date it has been conducted, what has been the duration of the training, and also the names and signatures of the trainees who have been trained. So if you provide all this information, this can be done on a single sheet, and that should be good enough, right? So for this, again, we don't have anything that is inappropriate, but this is what is the expectation. And if you are able to provide this kind of documents, we will save on time. There would be either no or very limited non-conformities that would be raised, right? So again, you can, I'm just summarizing what all is required. One, you have to click the photographs through the app and the actual images of the product or the site. That is one. Second, the photograph should be clear in terms of clarity of visibility, right? It should be very clear. Third is that the photographs that you click, they must be one, you can upload up to 5 photographs, and you should take the photographs from different angles so that we are able to see the required details. Like, for example, I spoke about the fire extinguisher. The label must be visible. When we are talking about the storerooms or your work area, then it must be from different angles so that we are able to understand how the upkeep of the areas or locations is, right? So that is the next part. And then you have to have the right kind of formats or templates or records that you need to upload. So with this, once you fulfill all these conditions, this certificate would not be far away from you, and you can get this very quickly. That is the ZED Bronze certificate. So with this, before I move on to the next part, in case there are any questions, we can take them now. I don't see. Okay, there is a question here. We do delivery by third-party logistics. In that case, how can we get proof of delivery? Now, if you do third-party logistics, there are two ways. One is the product is actually stored. Your finished goods are at your premises, right? If that is the situation, then in that case, certainly third party, anyone who would come to pick up the products, you would have a record of when the product was picked up by the third party agency or logistics. That is one part. Second part is when they deliver it to the customer, you would get some acknowledgement from your third party logistics company, right? They would let you know, they would share with you either a acknowledgement slip, or it can be in a soft copy. Maybe they take a digital signature of the customer. Like, for example, on Amazon, Amazon gets it delivered, right? Any product to your doorstep, and you get a text that your product has been delivered on this date, and so person has received it. So these two things would invariably be there, right? You would not allow anyone to pick up a product without giving you an acknowledgement that they are picking up the product. And similarly, you will not let them go without giving you an acknowledgement. So if you can provide these two things as proof of delivery, that should be good. Secondly, as I said, you should also attempt to record all these deliveries, on which date product has been picked up and when it has been dispatched and whether it meets the delivery requirements. If you start observing these things, you will start getting a lot of data which you can analyze and improve your processes. So hope I have answered this query of Pinnacle Biosciences. Now, any further question? Okay. Yes, so I think these have been the questions. As we are not getting any more questions, I'll move on to the next part, which is just a brief before we move to the closing of the session. It is benefits and incentives for MSMEs. I'm sure you all would have gone through the entire list of the benefits and incentives that are for the MSMEs who get the ZED certification. In fact, even before you obtain the certification, there are certain incentives, right? For example, the rewards and other things. However, these benefits and incentives that come from the government or from the external source, that is secondary. That you should always look at those benefits as secondary. The primary benefits that you should look at is that a sustained practice, if you understand the ZED philosophy, the zero defect, zero effect philosophy, and you apply these principles, bring them in practice, there would be a lot of benefits that you will start realizing. For example, if you have proper systems of quality management, you will see that there would be reduced rework, right? You would not need to rework, right? If you have proper storage systems, your damages of finished goods of raw materials will be minimized. Your processes would improve. So basically, you will, if you apply all these principles, you will have streamlined operations. Your costs will be lower, and therefore you will have a better quality. There would be reduced rejection from the customer end, from the quality testing end, and therefore all this will add to higher revenues, because when you are actually supplying products of high quality, where the customer, he starts seeing that, okay, when every customer will have their own system of uh, you know uh, testing the raw material or inspecting the raw material. So whatever components you supply, whatever materials you supply to them, when they inspect and they find that there is always 1% or 2% thing that is rejected, or there's some defect, they cannot trust you, right? They will not be able to put you in their list of trusted suppliers or trusted vendors. So if you have proper processes, the streamlined, they will actually add you to the trusted customers, and therefore they might not even inspect you because they'll start relying on you. So that should be the goal. Excuse me, I'll just have a sip of water. Okay. So that is the advantage if you adopt Z principles. Similarly, as you go higher on the other levels, for example, silver and gold, there are more parameters which are with respect to environment, with respect to social benefits. When you follow all these things, you start communicating it to your suppliers, to your customers. You will start, developing a kind of image of a responsible enterprise. And with that kind of reputation, that kind of image, you will start attracting more and more customers, more and more employees. Your attrition rates would be reduced, and therefore Z principles will have multiple benefits, and your journey from a micro to small, and small to medium, and medium to large, that will speed up. And that is something that we all want your enterprises to go through and become really large, become really profitable, and become a real, the real role model for all the MSMEs and enterprises. Coming to the external benefits, the incentives that you will get, one is MSME Kavach. Now, this is basically after taking Z Pledge, you can avail MSME Kavach. This is a certification where this is for your preparation against COVID risks. So there is a standard again created, which has different parameters, different elements, where you can see what are the things that you need to put in place if you have already not done it, so that your workplace is ready to tackle the COVID menace. So this is free of cost. You can go and carry out, you can fill up the requisite information, and you can avail this certification. And this will provide you a guidance, basically, when you go through that assessment process and filling the requisite information, that what all needs to be in place for you, right? The second part from MSME Kavach, the second thing, you can also, get to learn about what exactly MSME Kavach is. Then moving ahead, there is a graded incentives. Now, when we say graded incentive, there are a lot of incentives that have come from various financial institutions. There are certain banks that have mentioned that if an MSME obtains a particular level of certification, they will provide some, they will incentivize the loans. For example, if you borrow from these banks, maybe the processing fee, they might have, some banks have waived off it to maybe 25% and 50% and so on. Similarly, there are some, lower interest rates that they would offer you. So all this information has been put on the website that is there. You already must be on our website because you have applied, right? But you can get on the details. Even on your dashboard, you will see all these incentives which are mentioned. You maybe your own state may have number of incentives that might have come up. They are all listed there, and you would be able to achieve these. And then financial assistance, certainly it is there. That is subsidy on the certification. Like, for example, the moment you have actually applied, there is a coupon of 10,000 rupees, which is unlocked, which you can use for bronze, which practically becomes free. Or if you want to use it later, if you have not used it, then again there would be 10,000 that would be deducted from the total fee of assessment and certification, right? Then there is a financial support for testing or system certification, testing or product certification. So for example, let's say you have not got an ISO certification so far. After you've got the certification, you apply for, you get an ISO certification, or let's say you go for a product testing, which is required by your client or customer, or a product certification. You will be able to get a financial support of up to 75% of the total cost incurred, or 50,000 rupees, whichever is higher, right? So this is also one of the benefits. So because testing is a very critical component, it adds to the trust. Testing and certification, they add to the trust of customers. And therefore, this is something which is available to you as a financial support. Similarly, the next step is also after certification. If you want to go to the higher levels of certification, and you think that you need some kind of hand-holding, some kind of consultancy, you can also apply for that, and there is a subsidy on the total amount in the same ratio as it has been given for the certification. And finally, there is a subsidy on technology upgradation for zero effect solutions. So for example, if tomorrow you plan to install some equipment which is less polluting, or it eliminates pollution altogether, like for example an emission, or you want to put up some kind of a monitoring system for monitoring the emissions or effluents, the liquid discharge that comes out of your unit. These kind of technologies, if you want to buy, there would be a subsidy of up to 3 lakh rupees, right? So this is again a part of subsidy that comes from the Ministry of MSME. So friends, as you can see, apart from the internal benefits, which I would insist, please do not look at this certification as just a certificate, and do not just look at all these financial benefits that are coming to you immediately. You should go for a long-term benefit which will make you better, more competitive and sustainable. Imbibe the values, adopt the practices, and make it a part of your day-to-day operations. And these benefits certainly are there for you, right? So with all these multiple benefits, I urge you all, those who have not yet completed your application, please start uploading all the evidences with the light in the light of what we have discussed today, so that we can actually, your certification process can move further. Secondly, please talk about ZED. ZED, zero effect standard, is our indigenous standard, our own standard, our own country's standard, right? So please be vocal about it. Talk to your friends, talk to everyone around you, talk to your customers, talk to your suppliers, and ask them to get on board and adopt ZED, because you will yourself see over a period of time how you are getting benefited. And together we will be creating an ecosystem where all our manufacturing units, our service sector units, they would become globally competitive, and we would be able to work in the national interest as well. So with this, thank you so much. If there are any questions at this point of time, I would also request everyone to switch on your videos, your cameras, so that we can take a photograph also. And in case there are questions, we can take up those questions as well. It's lovely to see all these faces, because just the voice, thank you so much. Request everyone to switch on your cameras, please. Great. So once again, congratulations to all of you for coming on this journey of ZED, and I'm sure it is going to benefit all of you, and it will actually help our country become the global hub of manufacturing, right? Any questions, please? Okay, so if no questions, see, one of the things we have also put up the link for feedback. We would request you to give you an honest feedback, and that will help us to improve and serve you better. That is one. And the share control. Okay. Sorry. Yes. So is this better, Mahir? Okay, so thank you. So yes, now one of the things is feedback. Please provide the feedback. It will help us to improve the training program. help serve you all better, other MSMEs better. And also, we would be sharing the recording. This recording of this presentation, this training session would also be put on the websites or portals, and you can access this entire program whenever you want. So you can access it, your employees can access it, so that everyone understands the things better, right? And apart from this, if you have any further questions, which any time occurs to you, you can always write a mail to us, and we will be more than happy to help you, right? So with this, thank you so much for being here, giving us the time and coming on board for this journey. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Thank you.